In this episode of the Encourage Inspire podcast, I'm joined by songwriter, producer, composer, and artist Keith Andes. Man, Keith has sold over 150 million records collectively over his career, and this was just a great episode, man, because Keith and I have known each other for several years. We actually met at an event here in Orlando, and I've always just respected what he's done, but never got a chance to really chop it up and talk about his career, so I wanted to invite him onto the podcast. And man, let me tell you something, this was just a really fun time. We talked about his early connection to music and what made him fall in love with music, and ultimately studying choral arrangement and orchestration and composition in college, which fascinated me because that's not often a path that you hear producers want to study as they pursue a career in production. We talked about him starting his career as a session player, and then ultimately deciding that he wanted to be in the production seat, and that ultimately led him to work with some amazing legends in this business, such as Michael Jackson, Prince, Lionel Richie, and Babyface, just to name a few. You know, we then talked about the business of music and him taking a small publishing deal early on in his career when he first moved out to LA to get himself established, but quickly after that deal was up, choosing to be self-published for the rest of his career and taking an at-source deal, which ultimately is what is allowing him to make the money he's been able to make and sustain himself over a 30, 40 plus year career in the business. Actually longer than that, closer to 50 years in the business. And then we end the episode, talking about the importance of him keeping his integrity and not getting caught up in the hustle of the music industry, but really falling in love with the work. And the reason he was able to live, he has always lived below his means so that he could still be comfortable doing things he loves to do today as we transition into the independent world. And like he says, he's kept his soul intact. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Encourage and Inspire podcast. This is episode number 87, and I got a great friend of mine, songwriter, producer, composer, sold over 150 million records, been in this business a long time, Mr. Keith Andes. Man, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Thank you for having me, brother. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for being here, man. I mean, I know we've known each other for quite a few years now.
And I say 5 years. I moved here in 2019, and I met you at an event. I met you at an event. Yeah, that's when I first met you.
Yeah, and you've kept up with me over the years, and I'm just appreciative of you believing in what I do. And I recently, at the time of this recording, saw you did an interview on another podcast called Halftime Chat. Shout out to the brother over there doing his thing. His particular podcast is he interviews the older cats, older, for the era. Like he does. I don't think he has new people on there, but he's more of a younger cat. They of what we like to call the old music business, because it's different now. It's completely different.
But I love that he reaches back and gives us our shine. And
absolutely.
Introducing it to the new world. Absolutely. And people go, oh, those are the guys that did that. So we appreciate that.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's such a blessing, man. So like he did such an in-depth interview. This one probably won't be because I think he interviewed for like 3 hours or something like that.
3 hours, man.
We ain't gonna do that long.
I had a ball with him though.
Yeah.
Namdi.
Yeah, Namdi's cool, man. Namdi's cool, man. So I just love this, man, because this podcast is the Encourage and Inspire podcast. So I'm about 86 episodes in. Been doing this for a few years now, and my podcast is I cover one of three things. Usually, disability awareness because I was born with cerebral palsy.
Right.
And let me tell you something, man. There's nobody in this industry doing what I do in terms of having a special need. Because I tell this people all the time. Everything I've done in this business, I've created. There was no job for me. There was no opportunity. I've been in this industry since around 2005, and I didn't end up going back to Full Sail. I'm a Full Sail grad. I didn't go to Full Sail until 2013. Okay. And even after graduating from Full Sail, firstly, there was no opportunities for me. I've had to create everything. So
good for you.
And that's because the record industry, the entertainment industry, is just not socially responsible. They don't care.
They don't give a damn.
They don't care about.
Excuse my language. I'm sorry.
You keep it 1,000. No, we keep it 1,000 on this pod.
Okay.
So but they just don't really care that much. So you don't really see a lot of people with special needs. You see a little bit of it on the creative side, but not so much on the executive, on the business side. And I knew for me, I couldn't go to LA or Atlanta or what we call this, because there's really only 5 cities that's industry hubs.
That's right.
LA, Nashville, Atlanta, Miami, and then New York.
Yep.
Those really only 5 cities for industry, meaning people move there for that particular reason, right? So, So I know you're a New York guy, right?
I'm a New York, born and raised in New York.
Yeah, I was born in New York, born in Brooklyn.
You're Brooklyn? You're Brooklyn boy?
Yeah, but I don't know it though. I left there.
Okay.
I left it when I was 7. All my family's still there. Both my parents are from Jamaica. My dad is still in New York. He'll never leave.
Oh yeah. I'm a Queens guy. I grew up in Queens.
Yeah. My dad is still there. My sister. I have a twin sister, and I have a younger sister as well too. But my twin, she came. We obviously came to Orlando, but she's since moved back to New York. So she's back, and she's been back. But I've been in Orlando 30 years. That's all I know.
Oh, good for you. Yeah. I love it. I love it. You could pay me to New York. You could pay me to go back to Los Angeles. Either.
I hear you. Yeah, man. What brought you to Orlando? Like, what made you want to move here?
I came here. A friend of mine I came here to produce his gospel album. Okay. And while I was here, he got sick. Okay. And he wound up having to have open heart surgery. Okay. And so I wound up staying here to help him. Gotcha. Okay. And I wound up staying here like 3 months, and I fell in love with the city. Gotcha. Yeah. And I was living in Atlanta at the time. Okay. And I fell in love with the city. I said, man, because the only time I've came to Orlando before when my kids were growing up. Yeah. Of course, most people. And we just go to Disney World, but I didn't know the city. Yeah. But once I got here and Scott said, I said, man, it was just big enough. Right. And I fell in love with it. Mm-hmm. And then I wound up going to, taking the year and going to Phoenix, Arizona, because there was a TV show that was there in Arizona I was going to hire to do composing for. Okay. And then the production company, all that stuff fell through. And then I was wondering, I said, you know what? I'm going to go to Orlando because I fell in love with it. And I was here July 2019, and I've been here ever since. Wow. Yeah. Let me tell you something, man. Orlando, Florida. Obviously, in the heyday in the 90s, you had the pop. Lou Pearlman was here. All that was here. Right. But for the urban scene, the only cats that really at the time made it really out of here was like Smiles and South Star at the time. I don't know if you know those guys. They had a hit record. But other than that, there wasn't really a lot of cats that went mainstream out here, but there's always been talent in this city. Mm-hmm. There's always been so much talent here. And I would tell people the problem is they would try to be Atlanta. We're not Atlanta. We're not going to be Atlanta. We're not gonna, we never like that. People were trying to make this. We're not going to be that. We're not big enough. We're not big enough to ever be that. And unfortunately, there's no Full Sail is here, but there's no industry really here outside of Disney and things like that, right? So it's tough to if you come here and want to get an industry job, but there's talent. Right. There's talent here. There's talent. There's a lot of talent here, and this is mostly a lot of rock bands come out of here. Yeah. A lot of those, some R&B stuff, but thank God for people like Jennifer H. Desire. She runs a company called Fusion & Co.
with the Fusion Awards, which that is an award show based for Orlando-bred talent that's based here, which is cool.
And I love that she does that.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, I love that. I love that she does that because, and what she was doing for a long time, it was doing these showcases and really giving artists the opportunity to get on these stages. And because in 05 when I started, you didn't have that community of artists like you have now, where you have artists that come together, actually work together. In 05 when I was doing it, it really wasn't there. Like, so it's cool to see that Jennifer came, and she's much younger than us, but she's coming. But I also see where she's I think she's trying to go more the nonprofit route now. So I'm not sure she was a kid. Those shows put those events on is a lot of work, and
it's a lot of work.
Put those events that she does and to make it as professional as she does her events is, she's a great friend, man. But there's so much talent in Orlando, so many great things going on. And for me, I'm from here, so it just made sense for me to stay here. I've been to Atlanta, I go to Atlanta a lot, but the thing with Atlanta is the traffic is crazy, and for me, where I don't drive, like, you got to be 20 minutes because nobody lives in the city.
Everybody lives outside.
Yeah, nobody lives in the city of Atlanta. So, like, for me, I'd have to be 20 minutes from everything, and that's hard to, people live in Stone Mountain, people live in Duluth, Waycross,
Gwinnett County,
Stockbridge, what I'm saying? So I've been to all those spots, but I don't really have a desire to live out there.
Neither do I.
You know what I'm saying?
I lived there from 2009 to 2018.
Yeah.
And I left Los Angeles because I went through a divorce and in Los Angeles, and I got custody of my boys. And LA was just too expensive. I wasn't doing music because I had to be a dad.
Oh, really? So you left the industry for?
I became a full-time dad because I had young boys.
Yeah,
and
gotcha.
I needed to be a father.
Gotcha.
And so I moved to Atlanta because all my brothers, they all migrated from New York down to Atlanta. So I had a community there.
Right.
Help me with my sons.
Gotcha.
And I had given up. I wasn't going to do music anymore. I said, I'm going to be a dad. I'm going to pour everything into them. And once they got grown, and that's a whole nother story. I'll tell you that story as we go on.
Yeah. Cool, man. So I would like to start, man. What's your earliest memories of music? Like, I love that question. I get interesting answers, but what's your earliest memories of, man, this music thing? Something cool about this thing. Like, what's your earliest memories of music that you remember that made you fall in love with it?
My father's, he had it was about 8 or 9 vocalists, and they were called the Zioneers.
Okay.
I must have been about 6 or 7. And this lady, Mrs. Mann, older lady, heavy set, played the piano, and they would sing these harmonies. And I just was enthralled at the sound of that.
Right.
They used to come around, and I would sit by Mrs. Mann and watch her play this piano and how she'd be barking at them, and they would sing it. That was the beginning for me that went, ooh, I want to do this.
Right.
And then I started listening to the Beatles.
Okay.
I became a Beatles fan and listening to Motown. And so the music just took my soul.
Right.
And I started taking piano lessons, and it was all over from there.
Right. Yeah. Right. Interesting. So, like, so now you're growing up. When did you decide you wanted to, like, take this thing professionally? Because people love music, but, like, it's nothing to actually say, I'm gonna come into this industry as a professional. Like, when did you know? Did you go to college for music, or did you?
Yes. Okay. I went to Queens College. I studied orchestration and choral arranging.
And that's what I figured. Because I was looking at your bio, I said, hold on, listen, that's interesting because most people don't study that.
Right.
And I was going to ask you that. So that's it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I studied orchestration and choral arranging. And it was there. I went to school with Marcus Miller. I went to college together. I don't know if you know a guy named Loris Holland. Great piano.
Yeah. That's Herb's mentor.
Yeah, he sure is.
Yeah. That's how
Loris Holland. We went to school together.
That's how I know the name because of Herb. Yeah.
Tom Brown. Tom Brown, we went to school. That's how I played on Funkin' for Jamaica.
Okay.
Tom Brown, all of us, Bernard Wright, all of us went to Queens College together.
Nice.
We were all there together. And it was that was the start of me just really, I knew I wanted to be in music, but I wasn't sure I was really playing a lot.
Yeah.
And we used to have orchestration classes and arranging class. I remember my professor, he was a German professor. I can't think of his name for the life of me. And I used to do these arrangements. They would take we used to take a standard song. They said, okay, everybody do a different arrangement. I would do these elaborate arrangements. Right in the class would be blown away. But they used to have a basement, and they had a bunch of cubicles that had pianos in it. It was called the Matthias Hall, but we called it the Rat House.
Okay.
I'd be down there just practicing because I wanted to be this amazing piano. And I remember the professor came in and he said to me, why are you playing this piano? You're an amazing arranger. You should produce records. Now, I really didn't know what a producer did.
Right.
I didn't know what that was.
Right.
You know, I was writing songs and everything else. And then that was the start of me being, and then listening to Earth, Wind, and Fire records. Because I love the sound of those records. I'll go, man, what are they doing? Man, oh my God.
Yeah.
So that's when the bug bit me. And I just went all in. Yeah.
I love that. So when did you, and I'll skip around, but when did you get your first cut? Was it your first major cut? Like, when did you get, did you start making records? Like, when your first foray into the business, were you making records, or were you songwriting? Were you a session musician? What were you doing?
I was a session musician.
Okay.
So I played on a ton of big records. Yeah. Just as, Facts of Love, Karen White, Love Zone, Billy Ocean. Yeah. Candy, Cameo. Yeah. Word Up, Cameo. I mean, just one hit after I worked with Kashif. So I was playing on all these hit records.
So how was that paycheck as a session player? Was that a decent check? Was that
union scale? I was a double scale. Then I went to triple scale.
Explain to me what that is, because I'm not too familiar with how that works.
Okay, so let's say a triple scale. If I play a session for 2 hours, that's $3,000. Okay. Well, you're talking about $3,000 in the 70s.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
So I would,
that's a lot of money now.
That's a lot of money right now. I'll take $3,000 right now.
Right.
Back then, that's the equivalent of maybe $10,000 or $15,000 now.
Yeah.
And so I was just rattling off sessions, playing. But in that time, I'm sitting there watching producers work and watching engineers and just saying in the room, when the session was over, all the other musicians would leave. Now, this is before sequencers, computers. So all those records were played by live cats. Yeah. There was no computers, no sequence, none of that. It was cats counted up 1, 2, 3, and you play. Right. You can't make a lot of mistakes because it's costing you money.
Right. You got to be pro. You pros at that point. You're a professional.
Yeah, and you got to be able to make it. And so what they do is a lot of times they would have the demo of the song. Somebody would play the demo, and we would call takedown. Takedown was that we would write the chart out. Okay. So we had to learn it, and then what key? What are we gonna do? And then we work it as a musician. We're working on it. Okay, Bob, let's try this. Let's go here. Instead of doing this, and I was good at coming turnarounds. Keep come up with an idea how to get from the B section to this chorus, and I would come up with an idea. So I'm learning how to arrange. All of those things coming in, me playing in choirs, all that stuff is coming to mind. Right. Watching the producer, I'm saying I want to sit in that chair, but there's so much I got to learn. Right. So I just continue to be a good arranger. And so I wound up getting called. Producers will call me. They say, hey, man, you know how to make a record dance. Right. So I'm going to call you in, man. Yeah. And a lot of times I didn't realize I was producing, but I wasn't trying to say, I knew there was so much I needed to learn.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I was good with vocals. I love singers, very
Yeah.
good as part,
And that,
design. So
yeah,
I would come in, could you come in and do a vocal arrangement? So this is like, I would call this grad school for me.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
That was grad school, you know.
yeah.
And so that's how it all started. And I fell in love with the process.
Yeah. And we'll get back to it. But speaking of vocal arrangement, because I think vocal producing is one of those unique skills that not everybody has. I think when you're a vocal producer, it's a different type of skill, more than somebody who's just doing the top line or, just making an actual musical bed, but coming here and arranging the vocals. That's
Yes.
something that a lot of people don't do. It's a very unique skill that not everybody has. I mean, do you talk about that, like in terms of like, it being that unique of a skill and how good you had to be to be
Yes.
trusted to be brought in to do that stuff.
Yes. That's my favorite part of the record.
Yeah.
Getting to the vocals.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I love singers. And that's what makes the record.
Yeah.
So people talk about their beat and I was say, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
But I mean, what about them singers? What about, who's doing, singing? That's what sells the song.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And so many, and we see this a lot here because in hip hop is one of what we call the person that's producing the record, that just made to be the producer, when he really might just be the beat maker. Somebody else might come in and just come in and do everything else, but he might just made the beat. Because to me, a producer cares about what the whole record sounds like, not just the beat. And only in hip hop do we do that. We don't do that in any other genre. In hip hop, we just say, "Oh, produced by such and such." Nah, he just made the beat. Nothing wrong with that. We need the musical bed, but did they come in and actually produce the vocal or produce and arrange the record properly? That's production. You know what I'm saying? So,
one of the biggest compliments I got was from Babyface.
Okay.
When I started working with him a lot, doing a lot of records with him,
mm-hmm.
And he would always say to me, he said, "Man, I love working with you because I can bring you in at any part of the song. You can start it and you can finish it.
Right.
You could start the song and you can come in the middle, and then you can always end it. You can mix it, you do the vocals, you'll do everything. You'll mix it, you do everything.
Right.
So that's a skill set that I wanted to acquire, that I could come in at any part of the record and be an asset to the record.
I think that's amazing, man. I think, being able to do that. One is because people know they can trust you. Look, this industry, man, is a small. I tell people all the time, the entertainment business, music business, it's an industry. It's a small industry. It's not big.
Oh, it's very small.
People trust you, and that one, they trust you. And I speak of me from the business side. Like, if you're going to events again and again, people in a way, that's people kind of trust you because they see you all the time. If they see you, they're like, okay, well, they know that it ain't cheap to come here, and you here all the time, so you must be doing something. You know what I'm saying? So our industry is small, man, but and there's no our industry is not regulated, so there's no people come into this entertainment business without any training, and they don't understand you need training. You need to go to quote unquote school, not in a traditional way, but get the knowledge and the information, and that's what I'm noticing. Because I work with primarily new artists that no one ever heard of before, and so many of them have no clue how none of this stuff works. They don't have no idea what a PRO is. They have no idea what BMI or ASCAP do. They just know they signed up for it. They have no idea what they even do. I said
they don't realize, back in the day, you used to be able to get a loan from your PRO if you got pipeline.
Oh, okay.
So if you, I never did it, but I know guys that did it. So they say, "Well, I got this hit record, I got pipeline." They look and they say, "Oh man, you got a couple $100,000. We'll give you $100,000 because they know you got that money coming."
Right.
So, but people don't realize that they can do that.
Right. Yeah, there's so many young kids today because one, they're just told, "Oh, sign up for a PRO or ASCAP." They have no clue. I said, "Well, do you even?" I say it all the time. Do you know what they do?
Right.
They have no clue, and I think because it's a lack of education, they don't, and they don't really want to take the time to study and learn what it is. Know the industry that you're in, know the business that you're in, and we'll.
You know what, Durell? You know what, Durell? And I'm gonna say this. I might get shot for saying it.
That's all good.
But what these kids do now is like the new dope game. And it's a quick fix.
Yeah.
They don't realize the work that's to be a professional. It's just like, yeah, you're a good basketball player, but you can't play in the NBA.
Yeah.
That's a whole other level.
It is. Look, when you get in the room and Keith, you work with legends in this business. Okay, people probably see you walk around us. They don't know you work with legends in this. Not just artists, you work with legends. That's a whole different deal. It's one thing to work with artists, but your resume, you work with legends in this business. So you've been around the best of the best. So you know what the best of the best sounds like.
And also, if you're not on your game, they don't invite you back in the room.
Exactly. That's how it goes.
So, yeah. So when I walked in the room, I had to be an asset.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I walked in the room, I knew I had made it per se.
Right.
When I walked in the room and all these guys, yo, Keith, what do you think? What should we do? Oh, let's go here. And I got to have an answer.
Right.
Let's go here. Let's do this. Let's do this. Right. And then not only tell them, but I said, okay, do an A minor 5 to this, do this, go ahead. No, you play this, play on the 3. You had to be able to speak the language.
And go quick and go fast. And and that's the difference between being a professional and just being. Look, there's cats today. Look, they're good. They they can. It's like, yo, you want to be in the industry. Because I always tell people, look, you don't need the music industry to be successful in the music business. You don't.
Thank you.
You do not need it. You don't. You can learn the music business and never be a part of the music industry. Because to me, I break it down like this: the music industry is record labels, influencers, DJs, DJs, influencers, record labels, everybody. Anybody that has an opinion, but it's part of the industry. That's one side. Then you have the music business. That's just sales. That's commerce.
Woo!
And then you have the business of music. And what does that stand for? That's intellectual. That's copyrights and masters. You know what I'm saying? And so many artists don't understand like the business that they're in and understand and learning the business of music and what all that's about. So you don't need to be a big name in the industry to be successful in the music business.
You know what? And it's funny you say that. You look at Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, Teddy Riley, LA and Babyface. They had the names. I never had a name.
Mm-hmm.
I was never a name, and I was okay with that. But I worked with all of them.
Yeah.
And they all called me. Hey, could you come and do this record? Could you fix this? Could you? And I honestly, Durell, I never wanted to be a name.
Yeah.
I just wanted to go to work.
Yep.
And so it built into that.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't in it to be famous.
Right.
I was in it because I love music. And my father taught me, hey, find something you love to do, find a way to make a living at. You'll never work a day in your life.
Right.
So I worked a day in my life.
Right.
I did music my whole life.
Right.
And so, but you got to be good at your game.
Yeah, you got to, especially at that level. You got to be good, and you got to be willing to learn the business. You know what I'm saying? You got to be, because that's what it comes down to. You know what I mean? Learning the business is so important. We're gonna touch base on that just a little bit, but I want to talk about some of the artists you work with: Michael Jackson, Prince. I mean, look at the names: Lionel Richie, Boyz II Men. That's just to name a few. There's so many much more. And then the soundtracks you did: Beverly Hills 90210. I grew up on that show. The original version, because there's been a couple different iterations of it, but
the original, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You did all the Jacksons. You've done so much cool things. So talk to me about those experiences of working on, with some of those artists. Obviously, Michael Jackson, Prince. I mean, talk to me just about what it's like to be. These are legends. These ain't just like artists. These are legends.
It's funny. When I'm in the room, when I go to those sessions, when I walk in the room and there's a Michael there, and they're looking to me, they're going, Michael's trying to go, Keith, what do you think? I said, yeah, but let's try this. Let's do this. Let's do that. I'm in the room because they respect what I do.
Right. And then, by the way, this is a young Michael. This is young Michael, right?
Right.
This is
Michael when he's hot, Michael.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I'm in the room because I belong there.
Yeah.
Not arrogantly, not saying that arrogantly.
Right.
But guess what? They asked me to be. I didn't ask to be there. They said, we need what you do here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I come in and I do the work. And after the work is up, okay, we done, sign my paperwork, and I'm out. I don't hang out.
Right.
I come to work. I punch my clock and I go home.
You go home. Right. And honestly, you stay out of trouble that way. Because a lot of times you just stay out of, sometimes because you be in that studio too long, you start being privy to certain things you probably don't want to know about. You don't want to. Let's be honest, man. It's just certain things after a certain time of night. You just really, hey,
I'm going home. And the word got around in LA, like they would have events.
Oh,
get Keith and the word around, Keith ain't coming.
Right.
And I didn't. Yeah. And if I did go, like if a friend of mine, like artists I work with, they're doing the show and they invite, I would come to support them.
Yeah.
See, I go backstage. Hey man, great show.
I'm out of here. You're right. One, because like I said, I mean, look, there is a drug section, rock and roll aspect to this business.
Yes,
it is what it is.
The dark side.
Yeah, I mean, you don't see it as much in the independent world, but when you get to that top 1%, it's a real thing. It's a real thing. So you got to be wise to, be careful to stay out of that stuff. If that's not what your world. Now, some people, hey, they got involved in that, and they see what's going on. I mean, we kind of hear what's going on with Diddy right now. I think he's like, that's,
yes, man.
That's a whole nother conversation. But
yeah,
it all couldn't be lies because we see that a lot of stuff is true, and nobody wants to touch him. I mean, his career, I hate to say it, I think it's a wrap for him. I think it's a wrap.
Yeah, he's done.
Hopefully he saved his money, whatever money he got left. He gonna have to
extort it.
Yeah, because I mean, nobody is touched. He's radioactive right now. Nobody wants.
And you know what? And Durell, I'm saddened by it.
Yeah, really, yeah.
I'm really saddened by, particularly with Black music.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Black executives, how I've watched them, and there's some people I won't mention their names,
but that you've been around,
that I've confronted.
Hey,
one of the biggest producers, and I was in a session with him, and him and his guys, they was in there talking crazy to these girls, and I came in just to play. And after a while, I said to him, I said, hey, man, look, can we get these people out here so we can work?
Yeah.
And then after they get out, and I confronted him about that.
Yeah.
And okay, I'll mention the name. It was Dr. Dre.
Okay.
And I confronted him about that. I remember when Death Row was starting, they wanted me, Death Row was going to be the hip hop side, and it was going to be the R&B side.
Like they wanted you for the R&B side. Like,
yeah, they wanted me
like the Michele's and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, they wanted me to head up the R&B side because Harry O, I used to go see Harry O in prison.
Okay.
When they would, Hemi, Suge, and Harry O's wife Lydia would ride up every Saturday to have meetings about the R&B side of Death Row. They wanted me to be the producer of that side.
Right.
And Dre was the pop hip side. But there was a part, and it got to the contract, and I remember the night before I was supposed to sign the contract, I was throwing up. That was my spirit saying, I just don't feel right.
Right.
It was a lot of money.
Wow.
And I walked in and I told him, I said, I can't sign the contract because I had just did a production deal with Warner Brothers.
Okay.
And production deals, we used to do production deals. So what they would do is they would get you at a certain rate scale. So they said, okay, we'll give you a 10-song production deal at $30,000 a song.
Okay. Now, were they doing MDRCs then?
Yes, they were. No, that was for the publishing side.
That's only for the publishing side. Okay.
Only for the publishing side. Yeah.
Okay.
But on the record side, no, they weren't doing MDRCs on the record side.
Okay.
So, but they would lock you in on the rate.
Okay.
Because like if you have hits, and then you can start charging 100,000, say, so well, let's lock you in on a 10 song, 30,000, that's 300,000. Okay. And they'll give you half of it up front and you work it off. I just signed a production deal with Warner Brothers for like a $30,000 song. When I walked into the Death Row thing, they wanted me to be exclusive to them. And there was a lot of money on the table. And I just said, no, I can't do it. And Shooks asked why not. I had my attorney there. Dr. Dre was there.
Yeah.
And I said, I already signed a production deal with Warner Brothers.
Right.
And so he said, well, how much? I told him, so, well, I'll buy it out. I'll buy you out. And I told him, no, you can't do that. And he said, why? I said, because I gave him a word.
Right.
So that was my out. I said, I gave him my word.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to break my word. Suge respected me for that. And he said to me, he said, man, I got mad respect for you for that. Because to me, Durell, it's never been about the money.
Right.
I never chased the bag. I still don't to this day. It's never been about it. It's about the art and the integrity of the music.
Absolutely. 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 Hold on. Let's see. Pause.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm about to end this. Now.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so I can go back to the same old link that
yeah,
I have.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, we back, guys. We back. So yeah, man. I mean, I love that, man. It's the integrity because so many. This industry, unfortunately, is not about integrity. People don't have integrity in this bit. I do. We do. But integrity is not something people, unfortunately, are always trying to screw people over.
And you know what? My soul's not for sale.
Absolutely. Yeah.
My soul's not for sale. I'm okay. You know, I've turned down millions of dollars.
I believe it.
Because I went, nah, I'm not doing that.
I believe it. And you got to think, right? You know, Death Row being a street label, hip hop label, you know, they kind of got all kinds of people up in there. And, you know, again, you know, sometimes you can have all the right intentions, but, you know, and look, like I said, your job is to go there. Look, your job is to go there and do the work. And I mean, because, you know, people used to say, well, how can you believe in God and go work in secular music? Because I'm just there to do the work. I'm not there to put no judgment on nobody. I'm there to go produce and do what I do. And that's why I love what you were saying is you just went and did the work. I'm not out here partying. Like I'm out here doing the work. I'm out here and I respect that because there's so many people who are very religious in this and who feel like, how can you go work in the secular industries and how can you go do gospel one day and go work in Death Row the next day and I'm like, easy. I'm here to do the work.
It's all music.
Yeah. Well, I never fell into that trap, man. That trap that unfortunately, I believe in God, but I feel like the trap that sometimes religion and church can kind of put you into and make you feel a certain type of way because you want to work. Yeah, I'm just not with that. I just think that it's something that like I just didn't really get into that. Like Al Green. Well, Al Green could for sure go make an R&B record on Saturday, go make a gospel record on Sunday.
Absolutely.
What's wrong with that? You know what I'm saying? I never wanted to ever tell anybody they should fall into that or feel like because they started in the church, they had to stay in the church. I think that's a lot of times some of our best singers, Aretha Franklin and started the church, but they didn't have to only make gospel records. And I felt like some people feel like that. But this is the easiest way I tell people. When you think about natural human emotion throughout the day. Every moment of the day is not a praise and worship type of moment. Life is about a roller coaster of emotions, right? And so you're not going to listen to Amazing Grace if you with your wife and you with your alone intimate. That's just not the time to.
No, you're gonna listen. Turn off the lights.
Exactly. That's what. So it's like for people who think like that, like that's just not the real human emotion. And that's to me, that's my argument right there with people. Like, that's not a real human emotion because our lives don't work like that.
Absolutely.
You know? So I respect the fact that you know that people like that. You would go do the work, but you also knew when it was time to, hey, I don't feel right about this, and you know,
don't feel right. And you know the funny thing, After that meeting, Dre laughed at
me. Really?
Yeah, he laughed at me. Oh man, you stupid, man. Turn down that money. I mean, I'll tell you the deal. They offered me a salary of like $650,000 a year. Going to give me a $2 million signing bonus.
That's real money. That's serious.
You're talking about in the 90s.
That's serious money. So is Easy E around at this point, or is he?
No, he's gone.
He's passed. Okay.
He's passed. Yeah.
Okay.
And I said no because it didn't feel right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It didn't feel right. And then years later, I never forget, I was at the Los Angeles Forum. I was at a concert. It was Keith Sweat, Blackstreet, and New Edition.
Okay.
And Dre was there because they had No Diggity out.
Okay.
Dre had just gotten married to his wife, Nicole.
Okay.
And I was backstage. I just came because I knew Teddy and them. So I went to see, and the guys that was playing with Keith Sweat, I knew the guys in the band. They were all from me. Right. So I just hang out with them and see them. Yeah. You know. And I was backstage, and Dre saw me, and I hadn't seen Dre in years.
Years, right.
And he calls me over, introduces me to his wife. I just got married. And he said to me, man, you the smartest dude in the record business. And I was like, he said, how did you know? Because after him and Dre had that, him and Suge had that issue. I said, didn't feel right, brother. And I go by my gut.
Yeah. That's real. That's real. Because and a lot of times, you're usually right. You're usually right. Because so many people don't. And again, I've never seen the type of money, but it's hard to turn that type of money. Even at that time, like it's $650,000 a year.
But guess what, Durell? I had no problem saying no.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I knew that money was going to cost me.
Yeah, I got you.
It wasn't worth the price.
Right.
After I seen all the people, the engineers getting beat up and all this stuff that was going on, I was like, "Woo! I dodged the bullet. Woo! I'm glad I didn't do that."
Exactly. Yeah. That's crazy, man. So let's talk about, man. So let's educate the people for a little bit, man. Let's talk about music publishing and and just educate on that, man. Because that's part of the industry that a lot of people don't. To me, it's the most complicated part of the business because it really is a case-by-case situation.
Absolutely.
So are you a fan of co-pub deals and admin deals? Or are you a fan of the MDRCs? I think they're getting rid of. I think they're kind of getting rid of.
Yeah.
Moving away from that now.
Yeah, because there's so many independents out there.
That's exactly. Or you a guy that believes more in being self-published? I'm
self-published now.
Yeah.
I would never do. Well, let me not say never.
Okay.
But 99.9% never.
Right.
Publish the deal again.
Gotcha.
I did one small one when I first got to LA. And I did it just to survive.
Yeah, that makes sense. You got to get some dough. You need some dough. Yeah.
And I did I just did a $60,000 publishing deal. $5,000 a month. I lived way below my means. I just got a little apartment, got a little car. I just needed money to pay my rent. That's all. And once that deal was up, I never did another publishing deal until I signed with EMI after I had a bunch of number ones out. But I did a at source deal.
Okay, let's explain to them. I heard you talk about this in the other podcast. Talk about what at source means.
Now, there's different sources around the world. Okay. So you have Japan, which is South Korea and Asian countries. You have England. You have Europe. You have Scandinavian countries. And each one of those companies, those are territories.
Yeah.
So
and then you can have sub-publishers within those. Right. Sub-publishers within those. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. But EMI, they had offices all around the world.
Gotcha.
So they gave me a lot of money. And I said, because I had a bunch of number ones out.
Okay.
And so
what were some of the records you had out at that time? What were some of the records you had?
As Yet, You're Making Me High. Yeah, I was just a bunch. It was a
That's the Tony Braxton joint, right?
Tony Braxton, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. Did you do full production on that, or was?
No, I did a co-writing and did some production on it.
Nice. Okay,
yeah.
okay.
And well, I did a lot of production on that song. But anyway,
okay.
And so what happened was, and a bunch of other records that I had, and so my public, I knew I had pipeline.
Okay.
So I'm making money as a session player, doing this, working, doing other things. So I really don't need the money.
Mm-hmm.
So I can wait. And so I said, okay, if you're going to give me this money, you can only collect at source. Once you say, like, I sell 1 million records in Japan, they'll go to Japan, collect their money, collect their 20% there.
Yeah.
And the 80 other percent comes back to America.
Right.
What they would do, they would collect another 20% there. I said, no. When you collect your 20% at the source,
that's it.
That's it. Rest is mine.
Yeah.
They did not like that.
What? But you had leverage. Yeah.
And I told them, I said, hey man, I live way below my means. I drive a 76 convertible. I don't live lavishly. I'm good. I'll wait.
Yeah.
I'll wait a year and collect it all.
Yeah.
So, but that was education. And Marty Bandier, who was the CEO of EMI, and they said, how do you know so much about publishing? That's what's my business.
Yeah. You know the business you're in. You're like, that's the, Keith, I'm telling you, man.
And let me tell you, Durell, I listen to you and I watch you online, and I'm going, I hope these kids are listening to Durell, because he's really educating them, man. I'm hoping they're listening to him.
I'm trying to tell them, because I'm like I had a friend of mine who, and I won't, like a friend of mine here locally, and then one day she said, oh, well, I just got my first BMI check. And I said, somebody asked, well, what's BMI? She says, well, they handle, what did she say? They handle music royalties and distribution. I said, no, they don't. I said, you cannot. I said, if you're going to be in this business, learn what you're doing, because that, like, you can't be a pro and not know what the different things are. Like, understand what a PRO does. What's their function? They have nothing to do with music distribution. It's a whole nothing to do with music. So when you tell it to people and you're just saying the wrong information, I'm like, you guys got to learn the business that you're in. Because like music publishing for a songwriter, that's how you get paid. That's how you survive. That's your retirement. That's why you can live the way you live now, because those checks keep coming in. You don't got to worry about having a hit record now, because it's a different time.
Hey, look, July's coming up. I got a check coming.
Yeah. And it's a different time. You don't have to. You don't got to worry. You don't got to worry so much, man. I got to be out here hustling with the younger act, because this ain't this era is not your era. Not saying you don't have a good time.
Yeah, but it's not my era. It's not my era.
Yeah. So because you understand music publishing and you're set up to where you can live, like you said, you've always lived below your means, so it's not a big deal for you. You ain't trying to have the fancy house and the fancy. That's where college cats get themselves in trouble. Is they try to live, like athletes do. You live above it. Like cause them big checks eventually gonna stop coming. And what you're gonna do. So
Durell, I never, and I made millions.
Yeah, gotcha.
I never lived lavish. I drove the most expensive car I bought a Lexus. Right. And no, wait a minute. The first car I went and got a Mercedes. And I drove it for a day, and it was just
you took it back.
I took it back because I didn't like the attraction I got.
Right.
It was I'm like, I don't want that much light on me.
Gotcha. No, well, you come from an era of where, as a producer, you didn't want that, right? The producers stayed in the background. They stayed in the back, and they made money. Producers back then made dough. You didn't have to have the single. You can make dough on the album cut. Talk about that. Talk about the money back. Talk about you said you made money, but talk about like how the money was talked a little bit earlier about the scale stuff, but like just making records on the album, because not every song was a single.
Right.
But you can make money on the.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. I would get like, and I may not begin, they would call me, hey man, we need one more song for this album.
Oh.
Okay, yeah. Okay. My producer's fee was $75,000.
That's just for you to go into the room before you did anything. Yeah, wow. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I believe it.
And so they had to pay for everything. They paid me, they gave me $37.5 up front. Mm-hmm. When I finished and I delivered the final mix, they give me another $37.5. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Then I got points on the project. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So talk about, so if you don't know, talk about points on the project. What is that? I know what it means, but what does that mean outside of the producer fee?
So you get producer's points. So that's the percentage of what you would make. I had gotten up to 5 points on the record. And so normally when you're a new producer, you start with 1.5, 2 points.
And that's for the sales. So like that sales. So what is that? What will those 2 points equate to in sales?
Let's say, okay, on $1 million, those 2 points can equate to about $200,000.
Okay.
Yeah. On 1 million sales. Now that's if you don't have a single.
Right.
Now if you have a single, whole nother thing.
Yeah.
Then you got your publishing side.
Right. And people forget radio.
That's where the PRO comes in.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So the performance, right. So that's when you get the BMI, those ASCAP, coming from the radio side, the performance rights side.
Right. Yeah.
On TV, all that stuff.
Right.
They're collecting for all of that stuff.
Right.
I still get royalties from all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it comes in pages like of stuff that I'm going, wow, they're still playing this song.
And you always forget. Man, I did that. You always forget,
Yes, I get a royalty. I did a song with Coolio called My Soul.
Okay.
It never came out here.
Right.
It was the theme song for a big popular show in the UK.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
Right.
And I'm getting all these checks from my side. I'm like, what is that? So Coolio, he said, oh man, that's the theme song for the biggest TV show in Europe.
Wow.
But I'm getting,
man,
I'm still getting money for that. I'm still making money from that. And that was damn near 40 years ago.
Wow. It's interesting you bring up being global, right? So I told myself, okay, in the world of independent music, how can I set myself apart? So everybody wants to make it big in America, which I understand, right? But I said, I want to be the guy that's global. So this is why I'm really big on going to Europe and what I'm doing in the European. Like I just got back, time of this recording, I just got back from the Netherlands. So I go to, I was in Amsterdam and Rotterdam. And so there's a conference in Rotterdam called New School Rules, which Henke Maduro and her husband run that event. And I've been working with them for several years now, and I bring artists from America over there. It's a showcase festival and a music conference, and I also speak on the panel on artist management. And then I was able to get connected through my colleague and friend Curtis Richardson, who wrote, I don't know if you know Curtis, but he wrote his big U.S. cut was the LL Cool J record and J-Lo. All I Have with Makeba Riddick Woods.
Great record.
Yeah. So big record. Exactly. So he wrote that, and he's been doing things globally for years. But I connected with one of his colleagues, Giorgio Jansen, in Amsterdam, and that's how I ended up going back to Amsterdam and spending some days out there. Which I'm not affiliated with him with Black Music Appreciation Month for Europe. So June is obviously, as we're recording this, is June right now. So we're Black Music Appreciation Month, and there was always one for the States, but there was never one in Europe. So George was the one that got connected in Europe. He said, "I draw," and he just Keith. He just started looking at my content. He didn't know me. He didn't know. He just started he knew Curtis knew me. This is the power of the internet. Curtis knew me, and then George just started following me. Just like I said, man, so like I like this guy. Durell, I like this guy. So we connected, and I was supposed to go over last year or to do something with Black Music Appreciation Month for Europe last year, but at the timing just didn't work out. So, okay, well, I'm coming back over. I'll be over this year. And that's how we were able to get connected. And so George said, look, I created this platform called the Black Music Managers Network. He he works primarily only with executives. He's been in the business for a long time, the Dutch music industry for a long time, knows all the white folks over there, but he's fighting for black artists. He's fighting for black music because in Holland, they don't really recognize us over there.
Yeah.
In Holland, they don't really, so he has this collective called the Black Music Managers Network, which is all European-based executives. I'm the only one there from America that's a part of this collective, and I'm a royal member, which means that I can get connected into the European Union.
There you go.
And he said, and you have to pay dues. He believes me that he sponsored me. He said, look, I took care of that. You're good for 5. That's what you should. You saw me make that post. That's what he did, and he showed. You know what? He didn't just tell me. He showed. He said, "Look." He showed me what he paid for. He said, "Look, you're good because no matter what happens to me, whatever you want to do in Europe, I'm giving you the opportunities to be able to get connected over there because I really believe in being global, and that's why I always preach to artists because Americans want to be huge. I get it. You want to be huge in America. The problem is, you probably won't be. But you go to other parts of the world and they can love you. So I think that's one of the things I try to preach. I love the fact that you're able to see income streams from all parts of the world. I've been to 7 countries. And so when I'm talking to artists, I'm not just talking from a theory perspective. I've been to 7 countries around the world. So it's I'm talking from a perspective of actually being there, So the cool thing is that you're getting checks from those parts of the world because that's what allows you to keep living your life. You don't gotta punch it. You get checked. Don't get me wrong. It's not the pandemic hurt a lot of people. A lot of people were. Don't get me wrong. You know what I'm saying? But
hurt me too. Yeah,
because you're still actively working. You still actively but that's passive income that you're able to get, which is the cool thing about a copyright. We don't realize a copyright is better than real estate because a copyright you don't gotta once you create it,
it's yours.
It's yours. You don't gotta worry about fixing it up, like you do with a home. Home, you gotta put money into it. A copyright will take care of you.
It just keeps coming.
Exactly.
Every corner. Corner.
Exactly. Yeah. So,
no, man, I'm glad that you're educating these young people on all that.
Yeah. They gotta learn, man, because I want to see artists win, and the truth is, you don't have to be a big famous artist to make money in this business, but you gotta learn. You gotta learn the business. Look, so the difference nowadays, this generation of artists, you are now a content creator. See, that's the difference. The difference in this era now is you're a content creator. That's what I said earlier. You get used to this. That's what you got. You do a good job of that, though. You're always making content. I see you. You do it better.
And you know what? It's funny, Durell. I surround myself. I'm thankful that I have a bevy of young people in here in Orlando that I love.
Right.
And guess what? I'm learning from them.
Yeah.
They're teaching me.
Right.
And that's what I tell the OGs my age.
You got to learn from the young people.
Man, I said, man, keep them young people around because they know more. They know a lot of stuff that we don't know.
Right.
So I'm giving them experience, but they're teaching me the new stuff.
Exactly. And because you have to make content now. If you're going to be in this, I was telling a guy the other day, an older cat, he's a rock band. He actually has good music. I was a rock band. I said, dude, but I looked at the social media. I said, this ain't gonna cut it. You got to be, because see, back in the days, closest to the content was a music video. That was the only thing you had to really work. Okay, we did a video. That's our content. Now you got to do short form content, long form content, UGC. So there's a lot of things you have to be willing to do as part of your rollouts and part of your music, your marketing, and your promotion. It's just part of the game.
Let me say this to you, and this is the reality that I realized with social media, and what I want to say to young people. A lot of times it's not about your music.
Right. It's not.
A lot of times they just like
you. Right.
And then they'll follow the music.
Right.
So my thing is, how do I get them to introduce them to me?
Exactly.
And then be authentic and true to who. I'm not trying to be the young hanger.
Nope. Right.
I'm a grandfather and proudly tell it.
Right.
I'm 65 years old. I ain't got no problem with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And your content. Right. You're not out here trying to be young. I had to tell that to one of my clients, Jimmy Mack, great guy out here out of Orlando. I said, dude, don't try to make. You're 53 years old. You don't got to make young music. Make the music that's relatable to you.
Yeah.
Your audience is not your audience, because at first that's what he was trying to do. I want to go make a trap record. You know, if that's not what you do, don't worry about that.
Don't worry about
You
that.
know, that's not what your audience. Look, I teach artists, so I created a framework called the Genesis of Superfan Building. Because the only way you can survive in today's world is you gotta have super fans, right? So, and I talk about building a core audience. I'm sure anybody who knows what I talk about is core audience, core audience, core audience, right? So you have to, and I talk about this thing called the brand positioning statement. There's three elements: the community you want to serve, who you are, why should somebody care?
Ooh, boy, Durell, I'm writing that down.
Yeah, the community you want to serve, right? And what could that mean? That can mean you could have a broad community, like so it's R&B. Okay, you might have the R&B. Okay, then you have a subset of R&B. It could be for 90s R&B, 80s R&B, 70s R&B. Okay, what else does Keith? What does Keith Andes bring to that community?
Right.
And then after, okay, what sets you apart in that community?
Right.
And after that, why should somebody care? So that's what we call, that's like your elevator pitch, right? After that, we then talk about what they call the buyer fan persona, right? We actually personify what does your core fan look like? The demo, people care about the demographics. I care about the psychographics.
Ooh.
The psychographics, right? So the demographics is the study of people, the who, the what, the when, the where. Great information to know. The psychographics talk about the why. Why do people do what they do? Where do they live? Where do they eat? Where do they shop? When you know that information about people, now you know how to talk to them. Now you can create content that's going to resonate with them. And these are stuff that I teach as part of my framework called the Genesis of Superfan Building. And I bring artists through this, and they've never done this stuff before. Because you got to look at yourself as what's going to set you apart. There's a mentor of mine, Barry Coffin. I don't know if you know Barry.
No, I don't know.
Barry is a music supervisor. He's written 200 songs for film and TV. Great guy, great mentor, a friend of mine. He said, "Well, there's 9 million artists across the world, and there's 8 billion people on the planet. There's 9 million artists across the world that consider themselves professional artists. Less than 10,000 people are signed to a record label, whether it be major or indie. So the truth of the matter is, most artists will never be signed to a label. What does that mean? Labels are not coming to save you. Record companies are not coming to save you. I'm sorry, they're not coming to save the day. Most of the artists, you're on your own. Yeah, hey, this is what it is. Nobody's coming to develop you. You got to develop yourself. But the way the labels look at it is, the way the record companies look at it is, you have the tools. You have the same tools we use. Now, you may not be able to afford it at the rate we afford it, but there's a way for you to afford those same things and find those people that can help you. That's the era we're in now. You got to be willing to find those types of people and invest in yourself. Look, it's expensive. This is an expensive career. And there's no way around it. And when you first start out, there's no money in it. So you can't. This is a slow burn.
Yes, it is.
It's just what you know. So I got to tell artists all the time: if you worry about making money, you know, when you first start out, you got to go do something else.
Right.
There's way easier things to do in life. If you just want to, but if it's just about getting paid, there's way easier things to do. Way easier things to do in life. If you want to go get a check.
Right.
You can't do this for the money. You got to do this because you love to do it, because you're making a difference, because you're impacting people's lives, because you're in the emotion business. Keith, that's what you've done. You're in the emotion business. Everything you've done is about emotion.
I told this story on Halftime, but I'll share for your audience.
Okay.
I remember when I put out my first song as an artist called.
And I want to talk about that, by the way. Go about your album. Go ahead.
Okay. A song, the first single that I put out as an artist in June of 2020.
Okay.
A song called My Brother.
Okay.
And it was a song that I wrote about my brother.
Okay.
I love, he's the closest person to me besides my kids.
Mm-hmm.
I like this. And I wrote that song about him.
Mm-hmm.
And I put it out. And there was a young man that came to my studio. He was 20s. And I told myself, oh, I put a single. I said, yeah, I heard it, but that ain't my thing, and I'm not into that. But I said, no problem, man. I'm not mad at you for that. Right. I said, I'll see you in 10 years. And so he didn't know what that meant. Okay. About 4 to 6 months later, that same guy calls me and he's on the phone crying. Mm-hmm. And I'm going, man, what's wrong, man? What's going on, bro? Because I mentioned him. He said, man, your song, me and my brother were going through issues. And I sent him that song, and that song healed us. Wow. And I said, you're 9.5 years early. And I told him, I says, me, Durell, I make music for what people, not what they want, but for what they need. Right. But they may not know they need it yet. Right. That's just I look at what I do as a ministry. Yeah. And it don't always pay. Right. But guess what? I'm sowing goodwill into people and making people feel good about themselves. And that's all I care about. That's all it is. And those people who see the value, those are people that you can monetize later. Because at the end of the day, getting paid is about just creating systems. That's really what it comes down to. It's like creating systems in what what you do. You know what I'm saying? And what I do with social media for me, mm-hmm. You get you get some marketing people. Oh, you need to do this, and you need to do that, and blah blah blah. You should do. And I'm going. Some of it makes sense. Mm-hmm. But I go, yeah, but that's commerce. Yeah. I'm selling me. Don't nobody have to know how to sell me more than me. Yeah. And I'm not trying to sell me. I'm just being me. Yeah. So people, and I'm getting more people hit me on like, man, thank you for that message you sent me. Right. Oh, thank you. I was going through this. And you talked about being safe or being this and doing this. Thank you for that. I said, man, no problem. I'm just having conversations with people, man. Right. And that's what you're talking about when you talk, hey, man, I'm not trying to be young and in the clubs. I'm 65 years old. Exactly. Exactly. That's not what you're trying to do. Nah. You know your audience. When you know your audience, it makes it much easier. See, right. Artists who don't like social media is usually because they don't know who they're talking to. And so that's why I take them through the exercise that I take them through, because you got to know who you're talking to. Before you can worry about, first of all, making a whole lot of money, you got to know who you're talking to. Because again, why should people care? And people's attention spans are really low because there's not so much information thrown at them on social media. So why should they care? Of course, you have to put a budget together for marketing, promotion, ads, things like that. But ultimately, before all that, even before you start pumping, I don't encourage artists to start with ads first, because you got to start organic. Because if you don't know what your message is, all ads is going to do is going to send the wrong. All you're doing is pumping the wrong message in front of people. Right. If you don't know what your message is, then you should. Ads is only for scale, when you're ready to scale and when you know what it is that you're doing. But sometimes now the only other reason I would ever say to do ads early is if you need to collect data. Right. If you want to get data on certain things and maybe run some promo ads to see what people like, that I might encourage that. Yeah, but that's good. But trying to run ads too early can actually be a detriment, because you don't necessarily know who you're talking to, what your mission is, what you're. So that's when you have to do the work to find out that information. And here's the thing that chaps my heart that I see a lot of young people do. And they're artists, and they're putting up a post about something, but they're playing Drake or they're playing Nicki Minaj. And I'm going, why aren't you playing your music? Right. Why are you playing Drake's music? Right. Drake don't need your help. Right. Right. So I look at these things as little mini commercials. Absolutely. That's what they are. Every piece of content you put out is a commercial for somebody coming to your world. Every reel. If I see you get good traction when you put out reel. Like people, I'm noticing you're not getting a couple of views. You're getting really good traction, because one, you're learning from somewhere, because it's working for you. Yeah. So many older. Well, I wish it used to go back to the way it was. It'll never go back to the way it was. It'll never go back to the old days. No, you got to embrace the new.
You have to.
And Durell, I'm having fun with it.
Yeah.
I'm coming up with an idea. I said, oh, this is a good idea, you know,
right,
and I'm having fun. Yeah.
It'll never go back. Like I would go to these conferences. I was like, man, I wish we didn't have to worry about content. Okay, you do. Sorry. If you're gonna be an artist in today's world, to me, like it's real. You should segment out your days. Okay, maybe you have certain days where you record. Maybe throughout 7 days, Mondays and Wednesdays is my record days. Maybe Tuesdays is my content days. Then you should have a day where it's all about education and learning. Because most people are doing this with a full-time job, maybe children. So you have to regiment your days out. But that's what I would do. You know, I would treat it like a job. Even if it's not paying you like a job, treat it like a job. Even when you got to go do your 9 to 5, okay, you come home, you do your other stuff.
Like I work a lot, you know, in my studio here. And I have days, you know, because I also do music for TV. I do music for like Universal Resorts, all the things, our TV commercials. So I'm doing a lot of that music. Yeah. But what I do is like, if I have a day, I say, okay, today is a day of content. And I just put on different shirts. I go to parks.
Exactly. That's all you do. Yeah, that's all you do. I mean, it's not as hard as people think it is. It just takes time and knowing what you're doing.
And my thing is, what message do I want to send?
Right.
What's the message?
Right.
You know, and I was like, okay, what's the message? And then I try to find a song in my catalog that will match that message.
I love it.
Because I'm not going to play Nicki Minaj. No. I'm going to use my song.
Because you're promoting it's your commercial.
Right.
It's your commercial. Your social platforms are your commercial.
And the only time I use on this past Father's Day, because I always do a Father's Day, I used Luther's Dance with My Father again.
Right.
Because I love that song. Right. And it matched what I went. So on those special occasions, I'll do that. And I remember last Mother's Day, I used I'll Always Love My Mama.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, special dates like that makes total sense, man. So Keith, you get it, man. So I want to get out of here and just say, man, thank you so much, man. Like, how can the people connect to you? We could be here for an hour. We get
and I enjoyed talking with you, man.
I loved it, man. We're gonna have to come back and do this again.
Absolutely.
How can the people get connected to you? How can they stay with you connected on social media, and if they want to get connected
on Instagram, Keith Andes Producer.
Okay.
On Facebook, Keith Andes. On TikTok, Keith Andes.
Wonderful.
So I keep it real simple.
And that's how you're supposed to do it. Don't make it hard for people to find you.
Yeah, they go underscore this, number 3.
Right.
I'm going, man, I can't remember. Yeah, it's just Keith Andes Producer on Instagram, Keith Andes on TikTok, Keith Andes on Facebook. Real simple.
Man, I love it, man. Guys, this has been another episode of the Encouraging Inspire podcast. This is your host, Durell Pierce. Until next time, I'm out of here. Peace.
Peace.